Hey guys, real quick, only 40% of our viewers are actually subscribed, so let's change that right now. Hit that subscribe button right below. I'll bring this up, I want to have a quick Mike Tomlin conversation. Because I've generally defended Tomlin and said the guy's had uneven quarterback play for the last few years. It's a miracle to get his team.
And just to level set, they are currently 4-3.
They're currently 4-3.
So even, with what is to be said about to come, this team still has a winning record and look, I'm first place in the division.
Lukewarm take guy here. It's week 8, right? Anything can happen in the next 10 weeks of the season. We have 18 weeks, right? Anything can happen, of course. But I'm starting to lean into this idea that Mike Tomlin, he might just be calibrated to 9-8. He might just be the types of games that Mike Tomlin seems to lead with the Steelers. I mean, I'll bring this up too. Like, why does the Steelers defense? Why Aaron Rodgers went to the Jets, who had a good defense, and then they suddenly didn't have a good defense. The Steelers were supposed to have a good defense, and they did last year for the most part until the playoffs. But now they suddenly don't have a good defense. Like, is this a Rodgers thing? Is this the way they practice, or what is this? But Tomlin seems to be 9-8 regardless. Whether you give me Duck Hodges, Aaron Rodgers, or Kenny Pickett, we're going 9-8, and that's what we are. And that includes like we're gonna lose games that we should win. We're gonna surprise you with this one game, maybe against a great Baltimore team and beat them. We're gonna win a game with 6 field goals like they did last. They were on their way to doing that. They were gonna win with all field goals in this game at one point. Is there too much consistency with Tomlin, including, by the way, DK Metcalf is picking up personal fouls. They had 2 personal fouls on plays that extended drives. It
was a very chippy game, actually.
It was. But, like, is that another feature and not a bug? Right? George Pickens is like a model citizen right now in Dallas. It's gone both ways. Deontay Johnson ran himself out of the league when he left Pittsburgh. But now DK's picking up. He's poking people in the eye and everything. Like, what's going on? Why are they seemingly set up to be just over 500? And then when they get into the playoffs, they get whooped. And that's been...
Yeah. I mean, look.
Ultimately, my point is, I've generally defended Tomlin because he's had less than stellar quarterback play, and who can overcome that as a head coach? On the other hand, I feel like there is an incredible amount of consistency in Tomlin's teams, both good and bad, that have them landing as 9-10 win teams at best right now in today's NFL. And I don't know if that's what Pittsburgh wants or if they should be looking for better.
Yeah, I mean, several things can be true at the same time. I think lacking a quarterback means you're not going to win in the playoffs. Like, you're going to get to the playoffs, you're going to go up against elite quarterbacks.
It's the way it happens. His defense gets smoked.
Right, but you cannot contend without a decent quarterback in the NFL. So it makes sense that these teams just completely run off the cliff once they hit the postseason. I think generally Mike Tomlin sets an extremely high baseline for a football team. Like, he's a very old school, I don't want to say dinosaur, but he's a classic old school football coach. And there's some merit to a lot of the things they did. That's why it was successful back in the day. Like, the fact that their training camps are more intense and physical than other teams. Like, I think he sets a very high baseline by getting a football team together in a good way, well coached in those terms. Now, there's also a bunch of new age stuff that I think he's pretty bad at. Like, Ben Baldwin has this sort of running tally every week of, win probability lost by coaching scared on 4th down is how he terms it, right? Essentially kicking when you should be going for it based off the analytics, quote unquote. The Steelers are by far and away the worst team in the NFL at that this season. They have lost a staggering amount of win percentage by kicking in go situations, right? That makes a difference. So on the one hand, you got this coach who's raising the floor to this really high baseline because he's a good, fundamental, old school football coach. And then you've got this new world now where everyone needs to understand the margins, the little percentages here or there that happen during the course of a football game. And Tomlin wants no part of any of that. He's just consistently flying by the seat of his pants, going on the fields because that's the way he does it. And so they're leaving all this low-hanging fruit just sitting there at the bottom, waiting to be picked up that nobody's touching, and everyone else is grabbing it, and you're not. So I think that explains a lot of it, that they can't be that bad because he's a good football coach. But they might not be able to be elite because he's not taking advantage of all this crap that everyone else is.
Yeah. So I think it's just a fair discussion. Like, I'm not calling for anything, but I think Steelers fans have been debating this for a while, and it comes down to that. Like, there's some things he's really good at. I think the raised floor makes a lot of sense. They're still 4-3. They have plenty of 10 games left. We'll see, but it's a difficult schedule.
I mean,
and they just feel like a 9-8 team.
Look,
and
there's a reason.
I'm shocked at how bad the defense is.
Yes,
that's
a big thing. There's a reason that Vegas never bought into them being a runaway favorite for this division, right? And I assume, based off the results, Baltimore will jump back into being favored for the division, even though they're multiple games back still. So there's a couple of ways this season can still go for Pittsburgh. If they fail and they end up not making the playoffs with the start that they had and the start that Baltimore had, and the whole thing unravels, I think there's a fairly strong argument that you could move on from Mike Tomlin and it would be perfectly reasonable, even in a world where you're like, he's even if they go 9 and even if they get 9 wins and he doesn't have a losing season again, I think there's still justification that, like, okay, now we can do it. Or they make the playoffs, they win the division, say they hold off Baltimore, they make the playoffs, and they get shellacked again once they get there, and it's like, I think you can still make the argument now that whatever the limitations are within this Mike Tomlin dynamic, they exist and they're not changing. So
it's
maybe we can just go in a different direction, even understanding that there's like a 50% chance we're worse because of it.
It would be the same thing as the Cowboys discussion. It's like you're a 12-win team that gets waxed in the playoffs. That's a worthy conversation of, it's so consistent. Do we want something better? Like, it's a very high. The Cowboys winning 12 games year after year with Mike McCarthy, then losing in the playoffs. That's a really high floor, but you're looking for more, right? So we used to have that conversation. So they're going to play the Colts. Their schedule, they've got the Colts and Chargers the next 2 weeks. Still have to play the Ravens twice, the Bills, and the Lions, just amongst other teams. So it's not easy for Pittsburgh here going forward.